Hey everyone, this is Jason DeBord of the Original Prop blog. This is going to be another multi-story update where I just kind of go into some things I've come across in the last few weeks that might be of interest to collectors of original props and costumes. So the first thing I wanted to take a look at is the official Facebook page and website for the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures. It seems like that has continued to progress, and it seems like there's a lot of developments happening. It's still scheduled to open sometime this year, so I think it should be on everyone's radar to see how that materializes. There is a video on their official Facebook page, which I'll put a link to. I'll play a little snippet from it. It's actually 4 months old, but I hadn't seen it until today. It gives you an idea of the tone and concepts behind the museum, and I'm just going to play a little bit of that here.
It's terrific to have a museum dedicated to the movies because, as we already have learned, people come here to see and to understand what it is that we do.
Most people don't get to see the detailed craftsmanship that goes into building these movies. So a museum dedicated to film will give them a chance to have a real insight.
You will see the craft from the bottom through to the final product being the movie. And that's exciting because it's different from when you go to an art museum. You're looking at the final product and you're not necessarily seeing the journey through that.
So that gives you kind of an idea of their approach to this, the concepts, the tone. For me, it's much bigger than I expected, I guess. It looks like a huge space. It's very formal, very serious, which isn't quite what I expected, but thinking back on the fact that it's the Academy Museum, that totally makes sense because it's very consistent with, say, the Academy Awards, So it is what it is. It's different. It's interesting. It's going to be a huge deal. There's another video on their official webpage here, which I'll play another snippet from that as well.
I am really pleased to announce the opening of the new Academy Museum of Motion Pictures. This unparalleled museum experience is destined to become the newest cultural landmark in Los Angeles and perhaps the world. There will be a 1,000-seat theater with major film events, previews, and special presentations, and a second theater that will feature daily screenings, matinees for kids, and a global cinema series. There'll be exhibitions, live performances, and inspiring educational events. Without a doubt.
So the space is obviously beautiful. It's interesting to me that they, at least in the context of this video, they're pushing the theater experience before the actual museum experience, which is interesting. It's not quite what I expected. Obviously, then they followed up with some concept art of what some costumes on display might look like. But it is interesting to me that it's very, it's kind of got a social element, it's got a theater, it's an experience. It's something I think they expect to have activities at and people return to. But like you can see here, it says there's 190,000 film and video assets. I'm assuming that includes actual film footage and things like that. I don't think they have 190,000 props and costumes, but it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how this develops. It's pretty exciting. It seems like it's actually going to happen at some point this year. So if you go to the membership page, you can actually join to become a charter member. I'm not exactly sure when those benefits would start, if it starts at the moment you pay or if it starts at the moment that the museum opens. So you might want to look into that so you get the most advantage for what you're paying for. There's a list as you scroll down here. It looks like it involves getting admission to the museum, priority admission, early access, some special events and exclusive screenings, discounts, and apparently there's going to be a magazine as well. So if you want to support the museum and or you're in the Southern California area and you think you might, visit this more than one time in a given year, it might be worth checking this out. If you click the Join Now button, you can get an idea of the cost, which is actually pretty reasonable on the individual level, it's $100 a year. So that seems perfectly reasonable. And you can set it to renew automatically every year. So I just wanted to touch base on that. It'll be exciting to see how this turns out, and hopefully I'll get a chance to see it if it does debut this year, and I can do a feature about that as well. So next up, I came across some news that there is a original costume exhibition at Cinerama in Seattle. So there's this little time-lapse video showing the installation. So I'll put a link to this as well if you want to check this out. There's no sound in it. It's just kind of a visual of them putting these costumes together here, which is pretty interesting. And if you read about it, if you scroll below, basically it says that these costumes are all from the Paul G. Allen family collection. Obviously, Paul Allen passed away last year, and he's the gentleman that started the Museum of Pop Culture in Seattle, and this is from his from the family collection. So this is going to be on exhibit for a few months, it says, and it's got some primarily superhero costumes. So if you're in the Seattle area, you might want to check that out. Next up, I wanted to highlight the auction that's being put on by the Icons of Pop Culture, which is the company started by Jeff, formerly of Screen Used, and his wife Tammy. So this is an online auction. There's over 200 original props and costumes. The highlights that they picked out are a few pieces from Back to the Future, as well as a studio scale Batmobile miniature from the Tim Burton Batman film in 1989, and a Venom costume from the more recent film. And I would recommend, as always, checking out the terms and conditions of the auction. They have a 23 to 26% buyer's premium, and I believe the extra 3% depends on whether or not you're bidding online through iCollector. So make sure you check that out. One thing of note, they do include for every lot a certificate of authenticity, which, you know, if you know me, I'm not a fan of many COAs that I've seen over the years, but coming from Jeff, it actually means something based on his track record with Screen Used. So this is actually a good thing in this case. And also scrolling back up, it is interesting that there is actually no reserve on these items and there's no estimate. So basically the starting bid is where the bidding starts. So if you get one bid in and it registered, that's the reserve. So you're good to go. So that's a good thing for collectors. And so there's a little bit over 200 lots from a variety of film and television shows, from recent things like Venom all the way back to, I think I saw something from Chips as I scrolled through here preparing for this. Breaking Bad, a lot of costume pieces. There was a chess set from Captain America Civil War, and Ghost Rider, the most current Ghostbusters film, Green Hornet. There's also some posters mixed in with props and costumes. There's some things from The Last Starfighter, which is pretty cool. The Patriot, Pirates of the Caribbean, Pixels, Priest, Spider-Man Homecoming, some Star Wars memorabilia, Starship Troopers, and let's see here, Talladega Nights, a lot from that. And then it looks like there's a lot of wardrobe and costume pieces from Venom. And I think that's probably close to it. Yep, so lots of Venom material. So I just wanted to point that out. This auction is taking place on Saturday, April 6th. So Prop Store's had a few announcements in the last couple of weeks. One of them is this Harry Lang auction, which includes a lot of Star Wars material. This starts 3 days from now on April 5th. There's concept art, production stills, and more from the art director and production designer Harry Lang. I would, and also it looks like they have a beautiful catalog, and it's, I think it's one of those catalogs where even if you're not participating in the auction, it's probably a pretty cool piece of memorabilia for Star Wars fans. So that might be worth checking out. I would also recommend definitely checking out the terms and conditions. I actually went through these before I started this video, and they are a little bit complicated because of the VAT, as this is a sale based in England. So it does complicate things a little bit. There were some terms that were a little bit complicated, a little bit unusual. I'm not going to go into those for the purposes of this video, but if you're going to participate in this auction, and just like any auction you might participate in, always check out the terms and conditions so you understand all the costs involved in terms of buyer's premiums. Sometimes there's sales tax, sometimes there isn't. Sometimes there's VAT, sometimes there isn't. And then there was another term I saw a little bit further down here that I hadn't encountered before. Let me see if I can. Here it is, this artist resale right. So there's another potential percentage on the hammer price based on the lots that are marked AR. So just make sure you look through all this and check it out and make sure you have a good understanding of all the costs involved. So there is a little bit of a preview here, even though the catalog's not yet online, so you can get a sense of some of this stuff, which is pretty cool. Like there's this print of the original concept art for the interrogation droid, which I've never seen this before, so this is pretty awesome. Hand-drawn detail of the Millennium Falcon corridor. So there's a lot of cool stuff in here. Definitely check it out. So another auction that Prop Store has announced is the Sicario sequel. This is taking place April 15th through the 26th. And again, you can check out a preview of some of the items in this auction. Looks like a lot of wardrobe. So there's that if you're a fan of that film. And one really exciting auction announcement for me that Prop Store made is for the Marvel Netflix show, at least 3 of them, Daredevil, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist. This is being announced quite a bit in advance. They say it's happening in August of 2019, so I'm assuming we're going to see a lot of cool stuff on display at San Diego Comic-Con this year. So this is pretty awesome. If you go to the preview here, you can check out some of the pieces they have. Like there's a full Daredevil costume, and it's got the asset tags. So this is going to be a really cool auction. I was a big fan of Daredevil on Netflix and Punisher, not so much the other shows personally, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fans of these shows and these series, and this will be pretty awesome. So I'm pretty excited that this is coming a little bit later this year. So that's pretty much it for this episode. Thanks for checking it out. If you have any feedback, feel free to make a comment below or email me at jason@originalpropblog.com. And also you can check out the official Original Prop Blog website at originalprop.com. Thanks.